Welcome to Motherish. Today's guest turned late night kitchen experiments into a mission driven company helping families everywhere. Inspired by her Colombian roots and her father's belief that the earth always produces what one needs, Soraya Benitez founded MommaBear Organics to create clean, natural remedies she could trust for her own kids and now for families everywhere. We're so excited to welcome her to Motherish.
We read the books, we bought the things. We thought we were ready. And then life took our plans and changed them. I'm Karen, I'm Victoria's mommy, and I work in tech.
And I'm Pamela. I have a baby boy named Ford, and I'm a journalist. And although we're both first-time working moms, we're actually pretty different.
And that's totally okay. Because we both agree that our most important work is raising our kids. We really need each other and can only get through this together. Welcome to Motherish Moments.
I love this. I'm excited. I'm excited to learn about this. Hello, Pam. You know, our guest right before we were getting on, she was like, oh, do you prefer Pam or Pamela? And I realized that I never asked her that. It's a little late now. I feel like we're like, almost 5 years into this podcast, but I never asked you that.
No, that's like asking like your boyfriend or girlfriend, like, hey, babe, like, what do you want
Like,
me
it's
to
so
call
late
you?
now, like, what if I change it up now? But do you have a preference?
No, I like everything.
Okay.
I don't like, I think, Pamela in Spanish. I like Pamela if you speak in Spanish, Pamela if you're in English, Pam, Pammy, I don't mind.
Pammy.
Yeah. I've been in Pamster too.
I don't know if I don't know.
Just
like that.
I'm throwing options.
Oh, okay. I just have Karen. That's it. Like, there's not much more we can do with that.
Okay.
Although some people call me Care.
Really?
Diana calls me Care.
Really?
Yeah. And she's the only person who has ever modified my name. Ever.
I called your Diana D.
Yeah. Same.
Okay, D. I like it.
All right. Are you ready with a motherish moment?
Sure. So my motherish moment is we finally spent maybe about 40 minutes going through Halloween costumes. On my phone. Like one night, he was like, "Mom, I don't want to read a book. Like, I don't want us to read. Can we just like go through your phone?" I'm like, "What? Well, we could go through costumes." So I don't know if you've been following the podcast. I love Halloween. I love dressing up. I love coordinating with Ford and dressing up as a theme together. And I have slowly let go of that obsession because I'm giving him, his space and letting him choose. But anyhow, so he gets two costumes. One for school parade, which has a lot of regulations. Like, no, you can't cover your mask. You can't have like a sharp weapon. You can't be something too scary. I think very reasonable regulations. So I asked him originally, okay, what do you want to be? And he's like, I want to be something scary. So I'm like, okay, well, what's something scary? He's like, I want to be a kidnapper.
Oh.
And then I realized,
is this from that scene that you were going to recreate?
So much fear in him about being kidnapped that I think in his mind, it's just crazy.
Pausa. We have to give the context here. You guys, so like a couple of months ago, we had an episode where Pamela was talking about how like she was considering reenacting
I
a fake.
I should consider.
Okay. Well, you were considering it, and she asked on the podcast how people felt if she were to recreate a scene where he hypothetically gets kidnapped, so he could understand how important
it is. Fear. He like walks away. He's on his own. He never looks back. Like, I'm always like, you have to be careful, baby. You gotta stay with me. You gotta stay where I can see you. Then my mother lost him at a store. Remember, she was so emotional about it. And then I showed him this video of like kids, almost getting kidnapped. I don't know if it was effective.
You didn't say that before.
Yeah, the reel about like kidnapping attempts at grocery stores, at stores. Anyway, so he's like, I want to be a kidnapper. So I'm like, okay, well, what does a kidnapper look like?
I don't really hyped it up for him. Now
he's like, I don't think they have that at the store. He's like, I'm gonna make it myself. Like, I'm gonna cover my face and like just to hear him describe what he thinks a kidnapper looks like. I'm like, well, kidnapper could be anybody, and it could be like a nice lady or like an older man or like a, He was like, okay, why don't we look at costumes? Anyhow, so we have, I think, narrowed down to two options. He wanted to be something army based for school. So I helped
him. To match his backpack?
Yes, I helped him pick like Top Gun, like a jet fighter.
Okay.
Cute, right?
Yes.
So I think I may be like a matching jet fighter with her. And then for nighttime, he picked a ninja, like the most scary ninja, cover his face,
Halloween. You
like
gotta
a
be
sword,
scary.
like star that he could throw.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's cute.
That's
Even
great.
though now he randomly would think of a new costume and like be
This
like,
is
oh,
the
how about
age.
this?
It's the age.
I
It's
was
the
like,
age. This is
okay.
why I always had like, I don't know, 6 costumes on deck for
So
Victoria.
I may buy him more options.
Because like day of Halloween, she'll be like, you know, actually, what if I'm like a demon bride? And I'm like, okay, like that's why I go to Goodwill. I
mean,
stock up on random things.
K-pop Demon Hunters has been thrown out
Yeah,
there as an option
that-
for him and one of the Saja boys, but he wants to be the one that has all the purple hair, like
yeah.
in his face with like a vest and like these little gloves and like
Right, because those are the demon marks that they have, whatever. It's
to
a whole
cover.
thing. Victoria wants to be Rumi from,
Like every other,
yeah,
right?
yes.
Did you find it already, or are you like making it? Or?
I'm going to Spirit Halloween today, but I have ordered the extensions, the purple extensions, and I watched a few tutorials on how to do the braid in the middle. It's my art project. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna be. She was like, "Mom, don't be anything from K-pop Demon Hunters," and I was like, "Okay." And then she's like, "You should be." She wanted me to be something really ugly, and I was like, "Mama, I was something really ugly last year. Like, can I?"
Last year?
I was Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus, the one with the orange hair. I mean, it was really good.
So good.
It was really good, but it was ugly, you know. And I'm in a new era for my life.
Oh, it was Britney Spears. That's right, from Toxic.
I wanted to be Tinkerbell, but
From Toxic.
I don't know.
I have a great Tinkerbell wig, by the way. What's
okay.
your motherish?
Okay, so my motherish moment is just continuing my musical education that I do with Victoria on the way to school. The other day, we went down a rabbit hole. I don't know why I do this to her, by the way. I probably sound as crazy as like when you're like, I'm going to turn this into a lecture. Like, I'm going to turn this into a lesson. I'm just like, let me find another random music thing to teach you. So the theme of that drive to school was singers in Italian. So I made her listen to Andrea Bocelli, Laura Pausini, and Neck.
Laura.
And at one point, we're blasting Andrea Bocelli, Con te partirò, on the way to school. And I look at her through the rearview mirror, and she's like this. She was just straight face, like, God. And I was like, I look at her, I go, Mama, your mom is crazy, right? And she goes, honestly, yeah. Like, I go, but is it okay? She goes, I love you. I was like, okay, thank you. Oh wait, and I have one more. Can I share just one more?
Sure. Go ahead.
Just because it's like really, this one is like really soft and emotional and beautiful. We were talking about a kid who was getting like bullied at school. Something happened, and she said that. Oh, by the way, this kid, his name is Zachary, and she really likes him. So she goes, Mommy, I went up to Zachary and I knew he was feeling bad. So I rubbed his back, and I was like, okay. Yeah. And she goes, and I think he felt better when I rubbed his back. And I was like, that's great. I go, Mama, that's because you are empathetic. And she goes, what does that mean? And I said, empathy is when you can really feel what someone else is feeling and you can connect with what they feel. And she looks at me, dude, I'm gonna cry. She looks at me and she goes, Mommy, I can really feel that you're happy now.
Aww.
And man, like it made me go through the movie of every difficult thing I've been through in the last like year and a half. And I was like, thanks, Mama. I really am happy. And then she's like, I want to hug you. And I was like, okay. And we hugged, and I kind of cried, and she kind of cried. It was really beautiful. But, you know, every now and then she's like kind of crazy, but then she throws these like emotional things at me. And I'm like,
cute.
Oh, it was great.
That's cute. Okay, so why don't we have Soraya share her mother's moment of the week? Welcome to Motherish, Soraya.
Thank you. I'm so happy and honored to be here. And I have many, but I will tell you, on the bully, well, I don't know if it's bully in the same, but in the same scope of mine, my older one came home and they threw a party for their English teacher, who's beloved in the school. And kids brought in donuts, and he brought some treats and everything. And the teachers lined everyone and let one by one the kids take the treat. And my son got last on the list, and he didn't get anything. He didn't get a donut, he didn't get a cupcake. And I knew it because when I picked him up from the bus, he was just, he was in a bad mood. It's like, here, take my book bag. And I know now better than just kind of let him run through his mood and like, okay, I need for him to just settle down. And he always comes out with what he's feeling. And sure enough, he came out with basically saying that he was left out and he had no treat. And I said, my gosh, what can we do to make this boy feel better? He was on the verge of tears. And I took him out just for a scoop of ice cream. And, usually that's a treat, like we'll get on the weekend or something. That's a day that's really, something happened or special or celebrating, but we try to limit the sweets. But he was so happy, and we walked back, and he was just enjoying his treat, and it just made me so happy, just that I could bring him that joy. You could turn it around, and I try to teach him to a learning lesson. And I was like, those boys, that boy in particular, one who stuffed his face with like 4, and I was like, he's not going to be much happier by having 4 than by having 1. And I tried to make it informal, and I gave him a big hug. And, when you actually sink into somebody's arms, whether it's a parent or a child, and you really have that like love, that like moment, it's just
I love those moments.
It's the best. How old are your kids?
11 and 7.
Oh,
Nice.
fun. Okay, so let's talk about MommaBear Organics. I love these stories. First of all, I'm a huge advocate for clean products. I try really hard because I seen that directly food affects my son, like his behavior, his attitude, how he feels, how he sleeps. I'm a huge advocate about telling people like feed your kids great things and they'll feel great, right? There's a very, very, and I think a lot of people minimize the effect that food could have and certain products and certain ingredients on your kids, especially like the gut health and all that stuff. So I could go into like a black hole into that because I seen the effect amazingly. So why don't we talk about MommaBear Organics? Where did you have the idea? Where were you in your journey? Did you already have the kits already? And what do you hope to provide for families?
So I was working at a trading floor, so I was completely unrelated industry, and I used to cover publicly traded consumer companies, so like the General Mills, like the Kraft, all these big companies, and this was even before I had kids, and I just always felt like they didn't get it. You know what I mean? Everything you just said, I felt like they didn't get. It was just, even on the quarterly calls, it was a report of the numbers and like, oh, we're doing this, but it wasn't like, we understand where consumers are changing, where moms are changing their decisions, where they're looking at the labels, where they don't want this stuff. None of that, And so I came home one day and my son, the older one back then, he was 3, and he had a bad cold, and he loves candy. I mean, what kid doesn't love candy? Rarely will you find a kid who will tell you, okay, mom, I'm going to eat that broccoli over that pizza, over that Starburst. Like, that just doesn't happen. So I was trying to give him his cough medicine, and he didn't want to take it. And he said, I only wish that there was candy, medicine like candy, because I know that he'll eat. And my husband was sitting on the couch, and, I love my husband, but he's very like, oh, let's take a look. And he looked at a product on Amazon, and he's like, oh, look, this company sells lollipops. And I said, let me take a look, because I filter everything like a lot of us do before our kids are going to take it. And I looked at the back, and it had like all this FD&C red, FD&C blue, and a whole bunch of stuff I couldn't pronounce. And I said, I'm not going to take this, let alone give it to my child. Like, this is crappy. So I went on this whole adventure of trying to create something at home. And what's so funny? I thought it would be as easy as being able to make something in my kitchen. And the reality is that it is a science. It is a food science. Yeah. I went like, how sometimes I wouldn't say lie, but sometimes how we kind of like maybe hide things from our partner when we make certain purchases. Yeah. So I was buying all this stuff. I was buying these pots and these pans. And I remember hiding it under the sink, and I was buying candy thermometers. And I was like, he's like, what's this for? I'm like, no, just an experiment. I'm just trying, these things out. And it's just so funny because I was trying to make these things. I remember one day very specifically, I was trying to make a ginger and lemon candy. And I had the thing thermometer, and I burned it. Later on, I came to find out herbs, they burn at a different temperature. There's the hard cut stage, which burns at a certain temperature of 350, and the herbs were burning way before the candy was cooking. So long story short, I almost burned my kitchen down. And I remember opening, there was a back door window in the kitchen. And I remember He was just about to get home, and I was opening that, and I had to throw out the pot. And I was like, oh my God, it smells so bad. He came in, I'll never forget. He was like, what is going on? Are you going to burn the kitchen down? It smells like a medicine cabinet here. What are you doing? And I was like, no, it was the neighbors. That wasn't me. I don't know what's going on. And then, shortly thereafter, I really realized that this was a passion of mine, like to try to create something that was better. And I enlisted a food scientist to kind of help me on the formulations. And that's kind of the very, very beginnings. But I still remember those pots and pans and the burners and the molds and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. So you had to come clean. You had to be like, did you ever really, really come clean? Did you confess to everything that you did? Okay, so hopefully he won't listen to this podcast and he'll be like, well, actually.
Sorry, after going through all that and seeing how like it's not as simple as right, it's like mixing a few ingredients together. Why do you think there's such a lack of clean products for our children?
I'll be 100% honest. I kind of feel like it just takes that much more effort. And I feel like a lot of these companies, having covered them as a publicly traded company, I can tell you some of these facilities are a lot older. They're older, and you have a manufacturing facility and you're a large company, like let's say a Procter or General Mills. You have every incentive to run those machines at, not to get into terminology, but at the highest capacity utilization of that facility, 98%. If you're in any manufacturing industry, whether it's a car manufacturer or a candy manufacturer, your best interest is to run the output of that manufacturing facility as fast and as high output as possible. Well, what happens in that is that you're putting out high quantity, but not high quality. And so there's sort of, as you're seeing all these resurgence of all of these small shops, of all these small companies that are making these things by hand or small batch, it's because there is the element of quality that goes into a lot of these products that I feel like a lot of these large manufacturers aren't willing to do, don't have the capabilities to do, because they have all this outlay of all this equipment already. They just can't start from scratch. So, for example, our product is actually made in handmade batches in small 5-pound batches because it's made with honey. Honey, even though it's much better for you, is a hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs the moisture in the air much faster than high fructose corn syrup, which is what most candy manufacturers use because it's cheap, it's consistent, and it's abundant. So I take honey any day of the month for a sore throat than I would, high fructose corn syrup. So that's kind of my belief. It's not they don't have the money; it's a function of the profits and the margins for them. Sadly,
that's wild. So, okay, so you brought on this food scientist to help you create it. And then tell us from that point, how did you get to actually launching this, and where are you now on that journey, and where do you want to be?
Thank you for asking such a great question. So shortly thereafter, I went on this hunt to try to find manufacturers who would work with me, and nobody would work with me. And I would say that if you have any people on this podcast that are interested in starting a small company, they have to know that it's hard. It's freaking hard. Sorry, can I say that?
It's okay.
No, it's so hard, and you will get 100 no's before you get one yes, or even a maybe. And I had one maybe. I get emotional. I had one maybe. One guy who said, I may have the ingredients in, I don't even know if it's going to work. So just to back up for just a second, I had 2 recipes that I've worked really hard on. The sore throat elderberry one and the lemon ginger. Because out of my own need and out of my kids' needs, I get motion sick standing up. And so I was like, I need something for nausea that's natural. And, this would be great. And so there were 2 recipes I wanted to launch with one, and he's the first one, and he said, maybe I might have the ingredients, but not for that one, the first one you want to launch, for the second one, and I'm not even sure if I could have all the stuff you wanted it. And I was like, you know what? At that point, right, I think every entrepreneur reaches this point where you have to decide, do you want to stick with what you're doing or do you pivot? And I feel like in order to be a successful entrepreneur, there are times and stages in the career, in your life trajectory, where you might have to pivot, and you just have to go with your gut and just switch gears. And so I said, okay, let's do that. Let's do it. That sounds great. That sounds wonderful. So I called 100 people, and 100 people said no. largely because in hindsight now I understand most of these machines and most candy manufacturers are run with high fructose corn syrup. The honey, because it's stickier, people will work with tapioca. That's actually not as bad, but honey, because it is a hygroscopic, especially a product as raw as what we use. We use organic raw wildflower honey, which varies in colors, varies by seasons, varies by the bees and the pollinations. It's such a sticky product. They don't want to work with it because it won't work. It can't run through their machines. It won't run through their machines. It gets sticky and caught up. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to work in a hand, small made batches. There's no margins in it for them to be made. And so it was a really long process to find somebody until, one of the things that an old boss taught me a very long time ago, whether you're looking for a job or you're looking to network, is don't hang up the phone with that particular person unless you have a connection or one next step. Meaning, one person was like, I'm sorry, I make gum. Like, this is not in my wheelhouse, but I might know somebody. Oh, can you please give me the name of that person you might, who might, and that sort of thing. It's like one give, one ask. And so she gave me the number to this particular company, and I called, and I remember him saying, "Where did you get this number from?" Like, he was the CEO of the company, and he's like, "Where did you get this number from?" I don't just give this number to anybody. And I was like, "Oh, a friend of Sue and Mark and Barry, and they know, and he was so confused, and he was like, "Look, I don't have a lot of time for this, but I might have a small window, 20 minutes next Thursday." I said, "Fine." And I remember working my butt off to try to create this presentation. He said, "I got 20 minutes for you." And I'll never forget, he gave me an hour and a half. And at the end of that conversation, he was like, "I'm just sold by your passion. I don't know if this is going to work. And I don't know, but my wife swears by, this kind of stuff, or herbal homeopathic stuff. So I'm willing to give it a try." And that's kind of how the journey began. And he's been a fantastic partner. I can't really disclose it for IP reasons, but he's been a fantastic partner, and more like a partner than really a manufacturer. And I'm just so grateful to have him, and I wouldn't be here without him. So
Let's give some Mama Bear some lessons, right? What are the products that we absolutely should avoid, knowing what you know now, right? In this journey of like knowing like what's clean, what's not clean. Because I think at some point people try to get into the space, and now they try to not trick you, but kind of like make you think that it's something better, more natural or healthier, but in reality they're not. So just like a quick lesson, knowing what you know now, what should moms be on the lookout for? What should we avoid? And what should we have more of?
that's a fantastic question. So really, obviously, I mean, it's gone viral on all social medias. Because even my 7-year-old knows, "Mom, this candy has FD&C red."
But that eventually, none of them will have them, right? Like according to the FDA, like they eventually
Yes.
have like are going to pull them out completely,
But, I'll
which
tell
is
you
the
what
dye,
really
the coloring.
Yes, the coloring, which is really interesting and really anecdotal, but a small side note. When I was covering General Mills as a publicly traded company, I remember there was this huge wave of people who didn't want them to use GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And they kept pushing it out, again, because it's cheap, it's easy to make, it's pushed out. The only reason, it was so funny, it was a mom's, and I remember specifically, I forget what the proposition was, but it was a proposition in California, meaning a law that gets to be passed. This mom started this huge wave basically saying, if General Mills is not going to remove this GMO from Cheerios, we're going to ban it. And the move was so great. General Mills didn't stop because the government made them stop. They stopped because a mom and a movement had the power to say, "Hey, we don't want this SHI, in our stuff anymore." And so they stopped doing it because of that. So it's, it's just amazing to see just like the power of consumerism, right? We say all the bad stuff and all the crap that these big companies are feeding us, but the beauty of what's happened over for me in the last, 5 or 10 years is the power of consumerism of us saying, we don't want this anymore. We're not going to buy it. So your sales are going to be down because we don't want this crap. Mm-hmm. So that's a beautiful thing. But in terms of the products, yes, the dyes, but even in the sugars. And so, the most processed is white sugar. The closest that you could get to, caña or, cane sugar, raw cane sugar, turbinado, and a lot of new products and new candies are coming out with that. It's less processed. It's better for you. So if you have to choose between refined, just like with flour. We're unbleached versus bleached. You want to choose products that are as close to the source as possible, to raw cane sugar. And then another thing too is just really.
I'm curious, what do you put on your pancakes and waffles?
You know what we use
That's the
actually?
one product I struggle with all the time. I don't. Is it agave? Is it like? What do you?
You can use anything that's honey or maple syrup, because honestly, interestingly, you need less of it. On this process, I've also learned
Yeah,
that, believe
it's
it or
like a
not,
drop. What's the?
yes, honey is actually, maple syrup is sweeter than sugar. Believe it or not, you need less of it. But the beautiful thing about it is, because it's natural and it's unrefined. It actually, if you're diabetic, it will raise your glucose levels slower than sugar, which is really interesting. So you could have everything in moderation. And that was also a motto that we were raised with too. It's like, you know what? My father used to say all the time, you know what? Too much of everything will kill you. A little bit of everything won't. In other words,
Yeah.
you know what? There's times where you want those Doritos. You know what? And it's okay. You eat them every day, that's a problem. But everything in moderation. It's a huge believer. But the other thing is, going back to looking at labels, is the less ingredients, the better. Things you can pronounce, right? So you look at, sometimes you see like 30 lines. Even my kids, I train on. Like, you see 30 lines of ingredients. You know what? This product is the same product, and it's only got 8 or 10 ingredients. So that's also consideration.
I saw a video of you on Instagram, like, oh, do you eat your own candies? And you're like, yes, of course. How important do you think is for children to watch moms and dads, eat clean, eat healthy? Because I know it's sometimes easier to preach it and kind of purchase it for your child, but then you go ahead and do something completely different.
It's so, it is hard, right? And we're all humans, and the reality is that everyone has their vice, everyone has their thing, whether you have a sweet tooth or a salty tooth. I'll be honest, I could eat potato chips for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love salt. I crave salt. And then my dad, with his humble, background, used to say, you know what, yodo, you need iodine. It's yodo, coma yodo. And he's like, hey, don't buy just like this high end, because all of these sea salts that are so popular now, the pink sea salt and they're wonderful. However, they actually don't contain iodine. So believe it or not, the ones that contain iodine are the sea salt, the really table sea salts, in moderation. But and I got some herbal iodine, so I take it. I'm like, Dad, rest in peace. But I listened, because he was so sage and so honest. But going back to how important it is to be an example for your kids, it is hugely important. And so you have to try to balance that. My kids don't like fruits; they don't like vegetables. It's very hard. But in my kitchen, I keep a bowl of fruits that they're never going to eat. I eat it, but I'm like, you know what? Maybe one day they'll be interested in picking it up. The other day, I couldn't believe it. My son was like, a nectarine. I had some nectarine.
I love
He said,
nectarines.
what does that taste like? I'm like, you know what? It tastes like a natural Starburst. You want to give it a bite? Maybe not today. Maybe tomorrow. So
I'll never forget this anecdote that I've shared here a few years ago. But when Victoria was little, like younger baby, she would eat salmon so much. She loved eating salmon as a baby. When you could still have all this like control or whatever. And then when she was about 18 months, almost 2, she was like, no. Like, stopped liking it. And so we went for about like a year of like rejection, total rejection. And I'll never forget, I read something or I saw something somewhere that was like the best way to kind of bring them back to trying things or whatever is involving them somehow. And I've always involved Victoria in the kitchen. I've always cooked with Victoria. Like, there's videos of her like 18 months, like sitting there touching things, just a mess, but worth it. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to make salmon. Come and make salmon with me. And so she felt so empowered by the fact that she made this salmon that I was like, okay, well now, like, you made it, so you got to try it to see if it's okay. And she looked at me, she was like,
You
okay.
tricked me.
Okay. And she tried it. And now to this day, like that was years ago, this is like on weekly rotation. She takes salmon con arroz to school. Like, still, she's not embarrassed yet. You know what I mean? But it's amazing. So I do think a big part of this is also like finding ways to involve them and like showing them. She and I make pancakes every couple of weekends. Saturday or Sunday morning, we make pancakes together. It's like, I remember this was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, Mommy, it's pumpkin season. She's like, pumpkin pancakes. I'm like, yes, let's do it. And we make it together. And then I'm like, okay, now you got to eat it. And she's like, oh, okay, okay, okay. But I think that's a big part of them, in education, a different type of education, you know?
You
Funny, we just
mentioned
put out
your dad a lot.
parent-
Sorry, Sarah. You mentioned your dad a lot, and I think it's important, especially in these times where like AI is involved. I always think about thinking forward and new ideas and reinventing stuff. But I always feel, especially with food and even with other things in life, sometimes it's good to go back to the root, right? To like the rawness and the root of like where we came from, where things were made. Instead of complicating ourselves, I feel like if we go back to the essence and the purity of like certain things, it's so much better. So what did your dad teach you in terms of that?
1000%. Oh my gosh, you're getting me emotional. Yeah, I lost my dad last year, and
So
I never felt more inspired by him and all the things that I used to be like, oh dad, and because he grew up on a farm in Cali, and he came here as an adult, and you go from, Colombia is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world, to New York City, which probably is one of the most polluted cities in the world, and he had upper respiratory, he had bronchitis, he had all of these issues, and he got really depressed. He didn't know if he was going to be able to make it, and my abuelita told him, you need to start making these things, and gave him these sort of recipes for him to make that helped him enormously with his bronchitis. He used to give us as a kid. It's not pretty, but a lot of it's so interesting because a lot of the science now backs it up. And my dad, because it was a different generation, he actually had to leave school in middle school, and so we were always very poor. My dad had 3 jobs growing up, and
no.
it was so he was so wise, and he knew so much about so much, and things that I look back on, I'm like, oh my god, he was so on point about all of this stuff. I remember as a kid, we had baking soda next to our bathroom, and we had toothbrushes in there, like, and brush our teeth, and we were like, Dad, this is so disgusting.
But it
And
works.
like, they grew up with so little on the farm, and like, he's like, this is before I'm in Hammer. This
Yeah.
before I'm in Hammer.
Yeah.
I actually looked at the dates before I'm in Hammer had a baking soda toothbrush, and I'm like, wow, all of these things, I can't even tell you the laundry list of things. And so I think the biggest takeaway that I had from him is a level of what I call intuitive eating. I'm going to copyright that, though. I don't know who else is copyright. But it usually listen to your body. So many people don't listen to their body in terms of like, what? Or your child, or, Mom, this is so this growing pain. Have a banana. Have la sopita con, un poquito de arroz, un aguacate. Food that's nurturing,
Yeah.
inside your body and helping you in that way. And so, like, I'm so grateful to him for that. And, he is 1000% the inspiration for the company and everything that I do. And yeah, I mean, I truly believe in going back to the basics. And I feel like it's also very much in Western cultures here in the US and in Europe. And I know it's not in our countries in South America, and even in Eastern cultures that are like, go to the pharmacy if you have something wrong. We're so prone to like, oh, this hurts, let's go to the pharmacy. And don't get me wrong, there are times you really need medicine.
Yes.
There are serious diseases, and times that you need really real medication. But to the extent that you can try to take care of your body and nurture it and treat it, do preventative things, that makes the world a difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. What a beautiful way to honor your dad with this thing, like as a driver of your inspiration of the project that you do, that now you continue to kind of help other people through this. I love it. That's so
Where's
beautiful.
MommaBear Organics right now, Soraya? Like, how many products do you have, and where could they find them?
So we have 3 products: an allergy, nausea, lemon ginger, and a sore throat elderberry, which is made with real elderberry. pieces. And largely our biggest output right now is on Amazon. We sell on our website, and we have, I'm sorry for the background noise.
It's okay.
It's so New
like
York.
New York.
So New York.
So you'll listen. And we have a small brick and mortar store, Heinens in Ohio, but largely sold through Amazon and our website. We are also in the process, and I'm very excited about launching our next product, which should be out before the year end. It's kind of like really hush hush, so I don't want to say anything just yet. But I'm super excited because this is something that and I will exchange information. I'll send you guys samples because I definitely want you guys to try it. If you're first to try it. That this has helped my son a lot, so I'm very excited about it. And so we will have it out before by Christmas or a little shortly thereafter. But largely it's on the website and Amazon. Right?
Amazing. That's so awesome.
Looking to grow into brick and mortar and retail, but it's a hard upward battle, but I'm working hard.
Yeah, you'll do it. I don't know. I feel like you're gonna do it. I feel like it's gonna happen. Yeah. I love this stuff. I look, I'll be the first one to be super. Pamela is really into these things. She's into like the ingredients. Like she's your textbook.
I mean, as practical as I can make it, right? Because it's also, you don't also want to become so obsessed with your, like, it's taking control of your life. I've kind of like made it where it's easier for me. Like I avoid gluten, I avoid certain things, especially for for my son.
Right. What I'm saying is that between the two of us, she's the one who leans more that way. And then I'm a little bit kind of like all over the place, right? Like, and this is also like the beauty of the podcast, right? Like we were two different, whatever. But with these things, I like, even though I'm more kind of like, oh, fine, eat the goldfish, like whatever. Like as frustrated as I get, I'm like, toma, whatever. I also, every year around this time of year, I make homemade elderberry cough syrup. I like give we get my trip to the Northeast is coming now. So I'm going to Vermont and I'm gonna bring back maple syrup from Vermont. Like I'm actually taking Victoria on a tour so she can understand how it's made and all that, because we consume maple syrup all the time. Like it's our sweetener that we use for everything. So there are sides of me that are, just to reveal myself to you, there are sides of me that are more on this side, you know? And every time she's even a little bit sick, my mom's in Peru right now, but she always brings back honey from Peru. Like really, like this honey that I'm like, yo, this doesn't look like the honey here. Like this is really something else. Y yo con la cuchara de miel, I'm like, Victoria, abre la boca. She's like, okay, mommy. Because it's so much better, and I've seen it. Like it works.
And it's funny because even my son now knows, like his body reacts differently when and of course I'm a mom, like he's allowed to he loves birthday cake, right? He'll go to a birthday party, he'll have a birthday cake. But even like, let's say we leave the party and he's still like acting up or like jumping around, he's like, I had that cake, I know it.
Really?
It makes me like, he knows that could be the part of the reason why he's like, extra hyper. Like,
I love cake.
He's like, he loves cake too. I love cake too. So he's like, I had that cake.
What? That is so great because that's intuitive eating, right?
Yeah.
Like, and look how even at that young age how wise he is, and it took me a while too because even as a parent, and again, like it's so hard. I feel like it falls so hard on us as caregivers. It's like, oh, we have to stay on top of what they eat, and they have to go to activities, and then we have our work to do, and it's so much. So you also have to pick your battles and let things go. Yeah, they're gonna have goldfish. Yeah, they're gonna have a birthday cake. You have to let them be children, But that balancing is so beautiful that he knows, like, okay, too much sugar. There was a time where I was giving my son orange juice every morning for breakfast, and he was bouncing off walls at school, and I was like, oh, why is he giving it? It's natural, but it's also sugar. So there has to be. I stopped doing it, and then he stopped getting that sugar spike in the morning, and he was better throughout the day. And I'm like, okay, now I know that.
Yeah.
So it's just practicing that sort of, intuitive and eating and trying to balance it out too with motherhood. It's not easy.
It's a dance. It's a dance. The other day, Victoria was like, because I live with my parents right now. So when Victoria's with me, usually in the mornings before school, like she'll have breakfast with me and my parents. And, my mom and I drink coffee, regular coffee, whatever. And my dad, like, se calienta su leche. Like, he has, like, milk. That man drinks milk every single morning. And he gets like instant coffee and puts it in there, whatever. And Victoria tried it and she likes it. And I'm like, okay, it is what it is. So then the other day, now my parents are out of town and she goes, Mommy, I'm really tired today. And I was like, okay. She goes, can I have café con leche? And I was like, okay. So, but I put like a teeny tiny little bit of coffee and I put a teeny tiny little bit of sugar and I warmed it up and I gave it to her in like a fancy vintage mug. And she's like,
It's so cute. You know that my grandfather, my abuelito used to tell me like café para la gente viejita, y grande, and I was like, okay, and I believed that for so long, and I don't think I started really drinking coffee until like maybe like after college.
I started drinking coffee in college.
I never was a coffee drinker. Like for me, I associated and it just like your dad has it in Peru. Our parents, my grandfather is Peruvian also. Su leche with like the instant coffee. Sorry,
Sorry, you guys. You want this is how much I'm so sorry. This is how much like we're constantly on the grind. My battery is about to die, so I'm like,
It's okay. It's okay. I love you.
Wrapping up. Thank you.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I can't. No. I just put it back in. But this is it. My son was on it. I didn't even know, and I'm like, okay, looking. I had the battery charged last night because I knew I was gonna do this. And
I love this. Is like the most motherish thing.
This is your motherish moment.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Sorry, thank you. Where can people find? And Instagram is at MommaBear Organics, right? Is it all together or?
Our socials are for Instagram. It's MommaBear _ organics.
I'm following right now.
And it's MommaBear. You know, it's so funny. Everyone thinks MommaBear. It's MAMA, but we spell it MOMMABEAR. MommaBear Organics. And you know, it's so interesting when I was thinking about the name of the company. I'll tell you this really quickly. I originally had the name Petty Pop, like a pediatric lollipop. And the U.S. Trade Office actually said, no, it's too close to Pedialyte. Pedialyte came back and said no. And I was like, oh. And then you know what? It was one of the best things that ever happened because I said MommaBear because I thought to myself, what encompasses, it's not just about a mom, it's about a caregiver. What encompasses love towards another child, a mom, a parent, a child? What encompasses that word? The MommaBear, right? You get MommaBear.
I love that.
I love it.
So
I love it.
I felt that was a good interpretation of what it means.
Yes, you were so fantastic. Thank you so much for being on our podcast. I loved meeting you and talking with you. You were great.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And we'll definitely get information because I want to send you guys when our next product comes out. I'd love for you to try it.
Thank you. Good luck and congratulations. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.